Hey, how you going? Sean Harcourt-Bell here. We are doing a bit of the human book, is that what we're calling it? It's chapter one, and a bit of an introduction on myself, why we're here, a bit of a story to tell, something to share, something for you to take away, and a bit of happiness to share. That's I think that's in these times we want to hear good stories, great stories, how we get to where we are, where we're going, and why we're doing things. And so, but part of that here today is I'm just going to have a bit of a chat and tell you my story, and see where you can take yourself on your story. So if you can take one thing out of this for yourself, and pass it on to someone that you know or yourself, then great. This is what we're after. So, and we're here for a bit of fun, right? So we're just going to have a bit of fun. Michelle's the extraordinary cameraman sound person today. So welcome aboard. Welcome to my couch. To say. So again, I've just sort of said who I am. Sean Harcourt-Bell. Um, my story, biggest story for me is probably my musical background and my entertaining background and how I got here. And one of the big things, the biggest story for me to start with, I was such a late bloomer. So I didn't start learning the guitar until I was 17. So which in the circles of musicians is a late bloomer. And I have people around me that were just phenomenal musicians, and I just couldn't catch up. I couldn't fathom how they were so good. And I was sitting outside my back door up in Brisbane in St Leonard Street, and someone gave me a guitar, and I was trying to learn how to play Wild Thing. And this guy walks out from a block of units beside me and goes, "Mate, do you want lessons?" I think he meant to say, "You need lessons, mate." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And next minute, I'm jumping the fence, sitting in his garage and getting lessons. But I wasn't learning this sort of stuff. He put me onto learning classical, being a classical guitarist. So learning all that sort of stuff. So I learned to read music. I learned to sight read and all the classical sort of stuff. And that's the door opened for me. And I wish I had done it sooner, because I always had an interest in music as well. My parents, my mother in particular, she would just buy pianos and put them in the house. And so naturally your ear would take to wanting to play. So that was from that side of it. So I did have a keen ear. And my father, to which I never met until I was 17. I was too young. I think mum and dad had separated like when I was 18. But he was a guitarist. He was quite an accomplished natural Spanish guitarist. And obviously I'd never seen him play. But in saying that, when I started playing the guitar, my mother would always look at me and go, "Don't look at me like that. You look like your father." And it was because of how I was playing. And the genetics that sort of play across into your life. And I guess this is where a part of our journey will go on our. And it's a long walk, right? This is the whole point of my life. It's been a long walk, but it's been a great walk as well. And you've got, with the stories that I've got to tell, and because of that and things like that, with knowing that a gift that I have, and I've worked on it, and it is a gift because I can share it, and a gift is something that you give. And when people say you have a gift, well, you do have a gift because you give gifts. And when it comes to music, I like to give music, and that's why I like to play. Um, so Dad was a player, and I kept going with it, and we jumped into bands and we had all the fun stuff, and I was shit. I was so bad, and it didn't matter what. If someone would come up to you and say, and this is the worst thing, And take this on board. If someone says, especially in your early days, you're doing something, they'll come up and go, "Oh my God, you're so awesome." You've got to stop and not rest on those, because if you hear enough times you're awesome, you won't progress. You will not go any further at all. And I can't stress it up, because when someone comes up to me and says, and I've been playing at Stone's Corner in the Snake Pit. Oh God, those were the days. It's just this. I'd play, and I was playing through a Marshall amp, and it was so loud, and like we're a good little band, um, and everyone was accomplished in what they were doing. But you've got to look back. And anyway, I laughed. And this guy would, and he'd come up and he goes, "Oh man, you're just like Steve Tyler from Aerosmith." And I'm going, "Yeah, oh, great." And from that, from getting those sort of compliments, you don't sort of strive to get better. And then my my classical guitar teacher, he always said to me, he said, "Get into bands with people that are better than you, because otherwise you're the puppy in the corner and everyone's outshining you." And it's not about outshining, but you want to get to their level and then sit there so everyone's on an even par. And a band is a group thing, so it's got to be a group thing, right? You kind of say that about the bass player, but that's what bass players are. But you can't have a band without a bass player. Um, so I started doing that, and getting with people, and it's the same with life. If you get with people that have knowledge and skills, because even through friendship, a transgression of that, you will learn and pick up those things. If you listen to someone, um, regardless of what craft you have, or what thing you want to do in life, you will pick up on those things automatically, and then hopefully it becomes a part of your subconscious that when you start applying it, those things will start to shine through you. Okay, so if that kind of makes sense, it does to me. Um, you've got, yeah, that's sort of the path where it started, and that's where, and I kept going with that sort of thing. I got with bands, I got with people that were better than me, and then it got to the point I hopped into a band, um, with some guys, and we were touring, and they were out of my league, so out of my league, and I didn't feel I could catch up. I didn't feel I could get there, and the result of that, it was around the time I had my first child. His name's Sean too. Great name. And I stayed home. I was a stay-at-home dad, and because he slept so well, it gave me an opportunity to practice and rehearse and play. And I was playing. I dedicated a minimum of 10 to 12 hours a day, every day. So whether they were broken up or they were in solid pieces, or that's what I did for 6 months. I sort of came out of the darkness and back onto the scene, and everyone's going, "Holy shit, what what happened?" And it was that point you get out of life what you put in. And so dedicating that time, um, and I had no other interests at all. I wasn't a sports person. I was a sports person, but I was a martial artist. And in those times when I was playing guitar and music at the same time, both in the same week, my instructor and my guitar teacher came to me and said, "You're now at a level that if you want to do this professionally, you're going to have to drop one of the other ones." And that was, and these guys didn't know each other, but I had this in the same week. So I've got Australian titles for tournament fighting for back in the day, and I trained hard, and it was everything I do. I try and go hard for what I do. I think that's just sort of part of my personality. I don't stop. I rarely stop. So during all this this Rona thing. Someone actually said to me yesterday, "This is probably a good thing for you because you've actually slowed down." And I went, "Yeah, I get it, but I'm still not slowing down." So we'll get to that to later, where I'm still moving around and doing stuff. Um, but yeah, so and the decision was, yeah, I think playing guitar and being a musician is just so much cooler. So that's why I gave up martial arts and came back to um, music being a full time sort of gig. So that was kind of the only interest I really had, was music um, and martial arts back in the day. Um,